Sure. Hi, I'm Dr. Morgan. Welcome to Health Talk. I'm with Dr. Darby today.
Hello, good evening.
So the same thing is happening. It doesn't allow us to stream to Facebook. I think Facebook is blocking. I think Facebook is blocking the live stream. Yes, so we're gonna go ahead and do our pre-record and then post it. So I'm Dr. Morgan. I'm a family nurse practitioner and decided to use my platform to heal, educate, and inspire. And I'm with Dr. Darby today. She's a university professor, a life coach, and a healer. And we'll be discussing today how to let go. And that is featuring divorce, separation, breakup. And I'm going to ask Dr. Darby some questions. But before I start, in relationship, you fall in love, you become vulnerable to someone. You share your deepest, darkest secret with that person. You have a life with that person. And for some reason, somebody outgrow the other and you must separate. And this is something very, very hard to do. In the past, people used to have a discussion about separation, and sometimes they try to work it out. They might go back and forth for a couple of years trying to mend that relationship. It doesn't work. And then eventually they go on to separation and divorce. We're in a different time now. You can find out that you're divorced or you're separated by just logging into social media, and you see that your partner is now single. You see that your partner's relationship status has changed. You might get a message, a text message that I don't want to see you anymore, and then you're blocked. There's another way for them to disappear. It's called ghosting, where they don't answer their phone, text, nothing at all, and you're calling this person worried that something might be wrong with them when they actually ghost you. So nobody wants to really sit down and have that hard discussion right now. So my question is, do you think there's a healthy way to separate or end a relationship?
Thank you again, Dr. Morgan, for inviting me and for this timely discussion. And I think that's a great question. Is there a healthy way or a peaceful way to end a relationship? I would say in a perfect world with perfect people, yes. But because we are imperfect beings and we know that at the end of relationship there's going to be struggles, there's going to be conflict. There's two things, peaceful and healthy. So I think when a relationship comes to an end, it is possible to end it healthy if both parties decide that they need help. For example, getting counseling, seeing a life coach, a healer, someone who is going to serve in the role of a mediator to be able to hear both parties' voice and then help them come to some understanding. And I say this, for example, I had a couple that were trying to decide whether the relationship would continue or not. I had to meet with the male companion, hear his voice, meet with a female companion, hear her voice, bring them together and look for themes in what each person was saying, and then not have them talk to each other while they were in the meeting because it was just so much conflict. So again, like I said, both parties have to agree to have someone, and not someone that's a family member or friend, but someone that is a non-involved party, someone who's not emotionally attached to them and their drama, to help them come to some type of resolution.
Okay, so that's excellent to seek outside source, not friends, families, because they're going to take side. You want somebody who is neutral and will not, take sides in, one person or the other. So that's a good way to invite. You can use maybe like a counselor from the church, your pastor, somebody who is respected and who will speak the truth. That might not be what each person wants to hear, because nobody wants to be exposed, nobody wants to feel vulnerable. So the thing is that when there's a separation about to happen, it doesn't happen like immediately. Usually there's a conflict going on in the relationship for a while, and couples are going back and forth, and they might make up, break up, the make up intimacy, and some people might change for a little bit and then go back to their old ways within the next 2 weeks, because you are who you are. You can only try to change to please somebody for so long. Eventually, you're going to go back to your old self. So when the separation finally happens, right? And the public knows that they're separated. I don't think that is when the problem really starts. The problem can start years ago. Somebody can be married for like 10 years and they have like 5 very good years of the marriage, and the last 5 years is them trying to separate and trying to mend it back. Is there a time frame in which you think people should use to gauge a separation instead of dragging on in that relationship for years and years and years and repeat exposure to repeated trauma? Is there a healthy time frame that you can use?
Dr. Morgan, you need to ask about time frames. I think put me on the spot, and I hate to answer questions about time frame because each situation is different. I will say, if you are in a relationship in which you are being physically abused, emotionally abused, and financially abused, if there is a safety issue involved where you are being threatened with your life, the life of your children, then the time to leave is now.
Okay, so there's no waiting.
Not if there's a life-threatening situation. You have to make plans to exit the relationship, to save yourself, to save your children. So in that situation, I would say seek help immediately and come up with an escape plan for the sake
Okay,
of your life.
so people who are experiencing a broken relationship, they know that it's broken and they want to leave, but there's some factors that preventing them from leaving. We're going to go through some of the factors. One that I have on my list here is sex addiction. The relationship might not be nice, but that part of it is nice. And the person might don't want to walk away from that. They don't think they will find another person to satisfy them in that way. What are some of the other ways, other reasons that you think people might stay together in a broken relationship?
Fear of being alone. Um, Another big one is waiting for their partner to change. If I stay a little longer, he or she may change. In some instance, the couple may have small children, and maybe, it's very expensive. Childcare is very expensive. So some people may stay because they have a babysitter, someone to watch the children. Then there's a component with the health insurance benefits. What if that person is the abuser, I'll call it, is the one carrying the medical insurance? When you leave, how do you get coverage? Will I find someone else to love me? Here's another one. I'm getting older. And that's a big one, especially middle-aged women. They'll say, what, I'm getting older, and there's no one else out there for me. I've been with this person for 20 years. We've been together all our lives. So, these are a lot of situations that come up that keep people in relationship in which that are not healthy for them, basically.
And sometimes I think people are already comfortable within their living space. You don't want to move into a unfamiliar environment. You already have a nice home, you're near to work, and you're already in a community, maybe your church community, your kids are in a nice school already. In order for you to make that decision, everything has to change. So they're really factors that play an important role why people stay together in broken relationship. What is the emotional impact of a breakup though? Because it's not an easy thing to go through. It's not an easy thing to let go. It's easy for somebody to tell you that you need to leave, even when the relationship is, there's physical abuse in the relationship. What are the emotional impact of that breakup?
A breakup is a very traumatic experience, whether it's a marriage or just a regular relationship, because it impacts you in which I believe your self-esteem is lowered. You have fear of even starting over. There is guilt, shame. And when I think about guilt and shame, I think, you mentioned, for a lot of people, they're in a church community, they have a church family, they were perceived as a perfect couple on the outside, but yet in the home, there was fighting and drama. So there's this shame, what am I going to tell my family? What am I going to tell my church family? How do I now navigate life um, without this person, because we were seen as a perfect couple? So the fear, the shame, the guilt, these are all the emotions that come up, and it's very hard to navigate your way through these emotions by yourself. There's depression, crying, sadness, and I speak of that because I myself, my first marriage, I'm just being transparent. I was married for 12 years, and by year number 3, I knew this relationship was not a good fit for me. However, my children were small, and I decided, we talked about the babysitting, that, I'm going to stay until the children are older, and then I would leave. And in those years, I told my ex spouse that I would leave, and he didn't believe me. But when I did finally get the courage to leave, I was so afraid. Um, because now I was on my own, even as a professional woman. Now I was on my own, and I did not have that person, even though the person was toxic, but the fear of being by yourself. So there's a lot of emotion. And when you leave them, there's another piece of you that you miss them. You miss them. You miss the person that is the abuser, the person that was toxic in the relationship, and you question yourself, should I have left? Maybe I should go back. You find yourself calling them and hoping for, I don't know, hoping for them to be different, hoping for this situation not to be what it is. And so you're on a state of emotional roller coaster. Some days you're happy, some days you're sad. And it's a complete grieving process that you have to be patient with yourself and allow yourself time to heal, to get through it. It's not an easy process.
So even the person who has decided to walk away from the relationship can experience some amount of trauma, sadness from that separation.
Yes, yes, the sad, because it is a loss. Even though it may have been a toxic relationship, it's still a significant loss. And there's going to be a lot of emotional release. So it's important then to really have someone to talk to, a non-biased person to help that person get through this experience.
And one of the things that a lot of couples find themselves into is going back to that person for intimacy. They want that comfort. So most of the time, one of the person already moved on and one still want that closeness. In the case of men, men will not deny intimacy. If he's getting it, he's gonna take it, right? So you find that the woman will be falling back, sleeping with this person, even though this person already identified that I've moved on with somebody else, but I'll still take it if I'm getting it. You find yourself in a situation where you might go and do this and then you feel really, really bad about yourself, but you feel vulnerable and you feel as if you can't get past this stage and without going back and forth until you find yourself and find the strength to fully walk away. Do you find that some women do that?
Absolutely. They go back to that safe place, that place for that intimacy. And when I think about intimacy, I'm not speaking of connection from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's only that physical, because once you're disconnected from the heart, it's hard to reconnect. But that intimacy, I find that the women go back, they go back for that, immediate release. And then knowing that after that, there is no connection and hoping for connection, and knowing, and especially, if you know that your ex-partner is seeing other people, you think, why do I keep going back to this? So in the moment of enjoyment, it's beautiful. It's something you're used to. It's something that is needed for that release of energy. But then there's always that down side to it, because you know what, after that you think, oh my God, I can't believe I did it again. So you
Yeah.
begin to yourself, you begin to feel guilty, and you go through this cycle of, why did I go there, why did I
Yeah.
do this, and it's an emotional roller coaster, and it's really not healthy, because that person that you are intimate with is not emotionally available for you. You got to make a decision. Are you okay with being with someone who is not emotionally available for you, just detached? You know what? There are toys that you can buy to play with.
That's true. So the best thing to do, though, if you have decided that you're gonna sever this relationship, if there's no children involved, if there's no assets involved, just cut the ties, block the number, cut communication off completely. Because that's one of the way to really, really move on and sever yourself from this person. But if there's children involved, that is a very difficult one.
It is very difficult, because you know what? We talked about trauma, childhood trauma. That is going to be a traumatic experience for the children, and it could impact them, as in their school, in their with their personal relationships. So you really have to consider that. And I would always encourage women, especially, and or men, if they end a relationship and their children are involved, take the children to get counseling,
Okay.
because they may say they're okay, but they're not. It's a traumatic loss for them, and it's important for them to get counseling to
And it's
help.
also important, mother and father, they're having some issues. That doesn't involve the kids. So do not try to paint a picture of the other party to the kids, because the kids really love both parents and they want to have a relationship with both parents. So we should be very, very careful how we're getting the kids in the middle of this separation.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Morgan. We should not use the children as pawns, like you said. If there is a visitation agreement, when the children are with one or the other partner, do not speak negative of the other partner. This is a divorce between the parents.
Right.
Children should not have to choose. This is not their fight. This is not their struggle. We have to be more conscious, and we have to think about our children and realize that, what? We are still the parents of the children. Just because the two people can't get along, we should not use that as a opportunity to have the children choose between which parents is better or which is the greatest. It's
Okay.
just not healthy for them.
So there's a serious situation that I've seen repeated several times. Here in America, it happens in Jamaica as well. When there's a separation and there's a um, murder suicide, because most of the time it's the male who cannot deal with the separation, and then they will just kill the lady, kill themselves, sometimes kill the kids. And sometimes they're in an abusive relationship for a long time, and the lady's trying to get away from it. What is a safe way for a lady to leave from a kind of relationship like that? Because it's not a situation now where you can have a discussion to say, I'm gonna leave and this is gonna be this is how things are gonna be from here. We're gonna have this visitation for the kids. Sometimes you have to leave in a way that you really did not want to, but just to be safe and to save your life and the life of your kids. What's a safe way to walk away?
when we think about a safe ways to leave a relationship, and the disclaimer is I am not a psychologist. However, I am just sharing information um, based on what I've seen. I think when a woman is ready to leave a relationship, there must be a plan. For example, and I'm thinking about, I'm speaking of a relationship, I guess, where there's no threat of immediate danger right away, right?
Yes.
So it's not like, okay, he's going to kill you tomorrow. It's just that you, both of y'all are not, it's not working out. It's not gelling. There's no connection there. I think the first thing, the woman or the person needs to sit down and think, okay, look at your financial situation. Okay. Where am I going to live? Can I afford it? Begin to put some money aside to save so that you have a little nest egg. And I'm speaking now in Jamaican. Put a little money aside, You have a if you're in the US and you have a debit card, every time you go to the store, take out a little 10 or $10 when you say cash back. So you have some cash flow. So you have a place to live. Think about how you're going to afford it. You begin to secure some cash for yourself. Um, if there is someone that you can confide in, it would be great to so that they know what your plan is. And then as you prepare, for some people, it may take a year. For some, it may take 6 months. If you cannot afford an apartment and you have a family member that you trust, that you can stay with, begin to speak to them. So have this plan to leave and do not tell your partner about the plan. This is a escape plan. So have a plan, know your finances, think about how you're going to pay your bills. Think about who's going to watch your children. If you have small children, you're going to go to work, just don't leave. And then who's going to watch these children for you? So have some type of child care plan in place to live, secure your finances. And when you have all those, have a cash reserve, technically it would be great to have a 6 month cash reserve. But you know what? We live in an imperfect world. 3 months, have a little cash reserve. And then when you're ready, make your move.
So it sounds very easy, the way that you explain it, but in reality, in this country, when both parties were living together and they have kids, mothers are usually attached to their kids. And they're not going to walk away, leave their kids. And if you take that kid, that's going to be a Amber Alert, right? And we have gotten those over and over again. Sometimes it's not anybody running away. It is one of the parents who took those kids for safety. And that alert is put out and everybody's looking for them when it really is the mommy or daddy took the kid. So it is a very delicate situation, very sensitive situation. And I can see where a lot of women will stay in a relationship where they're unhappy just to sacrifice for their kids,
Yes,
maybe until the kids become older.
and you speak of the Amber Alert, so now we're thinking about kidnapping. And so when we think about really, it is very delicate. And the best way to do this, again, I do believe, is for both parties to come to the table and have a conversation. And it's hard because, if you're in a situation where your partner is not going to talk to you, a lot of women will sacrifice themselves and say, you know what, I'm going to stay until the children are older. I'm going to stay until the children finish high school, stay until they're in college. And so it's a difficult decision to make. Are you ready and willing to sacrifice 10 more years of your life in this situation for your children? And some women are you? And then here's the other piece, Dr. Morgan. So you decide to sacrifice your life and stay for 10 years. The children see that during those 10 years, you're not unhappy. What type of role model, what message are you giving to your children? Are you telling them it's okay to be in a situation where you're being abused? So it's a multifaceted multifaceted situation that really is very, very difficult. And we're here to say that it's not easy. It's not easy at
It's
all.
not easy. So even though you might let go emotionally, the physical separation might be a challenge.
Mhm. Definitely. And that's what we're saying. If you're in a situation where you feel like your life, again, this is the piece, you're at risk for if your life is at risk, then we encourage you to reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. That's 1-800-799-7233.
Thank you so much for that information. So letting go from separation and divorce is not only an emotional issue, it's a twofold issue. If children are involved, assets are involved, it's not an easy thing to just get up and walk away from. I myself was divorced, and the good thing about that marriage, there was no children, and how I exited that situation. When I left, they didn't even know. The family didn't even know that I was gone. All my clothes was nicely folded in the dresser, my wedding picture, everything was there. The only thing I left with was my important documents. And I made a phone call and I said, I'm not coming back home tonight. Don't wait up for me. And I was gone. I was on a flight out of Jamaica because you can't be sure if that person is not going to hurt you. You can never be sure, especially if you are in a situation where you were the partner who was more financially stable, and that person was a little bit, dependent on you. They're not going to let go of a situation where they're going to be at a loss. So you have to be very careful. I've known of cases where women actually, there was a nice girl and she was with this guy in Jamaica, and she found out that the guy was a gunman, and her mom told her to leave. And she said, "Don't leave when he's there. Pack your stuff. When he's gone, pack your stuff and leave." And she was at home packing her stuff, and he actually came back home unexpectedly and caught her. And he said, "What are you doing?" And he stabbed her, and she ran out and tell somebody. But by the time she got to the hospital and all of that, she died. So, those are some of the circumstances that might happen when you're trying to leave. Sometimes it's best to just walk away, leave clothes, everything. Just have your purse with your birth certificate and any important document, and you just go. So, letting go is really, really, it can cost you your life
Mhm.
just to want to walk away from a situation that no longer serves you. It's like you don't have that free will as a person to say, this is not working out anymore and I want to leave.
I agree with Dr. Morgan. It is so hard. It is so hard. And ladies and gentlemen, we understand this, and we're by no means telling you it's a bed of roses. You can just pick up, go on, and then that's it. It's emotionally exhausting. It drains you just thinking about and preparing yourself to leave, especially if you have children and there's small children involved and you're in the States and you have to deal with the Amber Alert. And, if you're being abused, I would also say get a restraining order, start a paper trail so that if in case you have to pick the kids up and run, at least there was a paper trail saying, okay, I started communication with the authorities. I called the police a couple of times, and then that's another piece now again, especially
Yes,
for Caribbean people. When you call the police, and then there's this shame, the neighbors and everybody seeing the police come to your house, it can be a piece where you're causing shame on our family. So
yes,
so my advice would be, before you get into a relationship, make sure you're whole and complete. Before you get into a relationship, make sure you know exactly what you're looking for.
And that's true, Dr. Darby.
What's your
So
criteria? Is either a piece of paper. Yes, go ahead, Dr. Morgan.
the letting go and the getting out of the relationship is not only for women, because there are men who are in abusive relationship, and there are women who are actually stalking them, trying to make their life, to make their life a living hell. And they too have to go through the court system. And the court is never usually very lenient or supportive when it comes on to men. They automatically think that the woman is right. So it's a two-side situation where men are being abused by females, females who do not want to work, and when the men work, they just spend all their money and buy all of these clothes and eyelashes and wigs and just wasting their money. And sometimes when they come home, they can't even get a warm meal. The home is not clean, and they're not working. So it's a situation where, as you said, you need to know what you're looking for before you move and go live with somebody. Date first, so you can see the people. People can't pretend for a long time. So give it some time. Go to their place, see how they keep their place, and have these conversations. See where the conversation is going before you make a decision to be steady and permanently dating these people.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Dr. Morgan. Get to know the person. But even before getting to know the person, get to know yourself.
Yes.
Know yourself, know what you desire. If you have any trauma, any issues, heal yourself so that you are whole and complete when you're entering a relationship. Broken people attract broken people, and healed people attract healed people.
That is true. Thank you so much for that statement. The thing is that a lot of people who are broken don't know that they're broken. They're only looking for somebody to make them whole. Yes, I'm looking for this person to make me feel good, to give me what I'm missing or lacking. But you need to go into a relationship, as you said, whole, know what you are, know what you're looking about. Heal yourself. Know that we're having these talks about therapy. We know that we can seek therapy not because we have a problem, just to talk, just to see where we are. Speak about things that's bothering you, certain behaviors that you have, how you can change these behavior, how you can adopt more healthy behaviors and live a more healthy and a balanced lifestyle. All right, so we're going to wrap up today. So today we have spoken about how to let go from marriage, separation, breakup, and it goes on to letting go emotionally and letting go physically. And to be honest, it sounds as if letting go emotionally is the easier part, because usually when a relationship is breaking up, people let go emotionally years before the actual physical separation. So the physical separation is the challenge in walking away from the norm, walking away from your comfort zone. And you need resources to walk away from that to make sure that you're living. And sometimes you have to rebuild. Sometimes you just have to walk away, leave everything, and rebuild yourself and spend some time by yourself until you understand you and know exactly what you want before you move on to another relationship.
Yes, and Dr. Morgan, we take our cars for 6,000-mile checkup. We take our cars to get service. We take our cars to get an oil change every 3,000 miles. You also need to have an emotional checkup, an emotional oil change. Reach out to a therapist, your healer. That's what I do. Reach out to a healer, just someone to talk to, just to check, do your emotional checkup, your 3,000-mile emotional checkup, just to see where you are.
Okay.
Get it.
That's a good advice. Thank you, Dr. Darby, for joining today. And it was a lovely discussion, and we put some thoughts out there, and we speak around them. And I hope this information will be useful to other people who get a chance to watch this recording. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, bye-bye.